Hello, I'm so glad you're here because today I'm sharing a video that I have been looking forward to for a very long time. Not only will I be giving you a close look at all the new Kristina Werner line and the September Concord and Ninth line, but I have lots of card examples and more. Now, before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have additional videos coming out that have to do with these lines. This one shows you all the products and shows you a bunch of cards I made. At 1 p.m. Eastern on September 9th, that's today, I will be going live where I show the creation and the techniques behind a couple of the cards in today's video. Then I will have another video coming out soon where I share the techniques of all the others. I might even have to break it up into 2 more videos. I really wanted to be able to share a lot of inspiration for these 2 collections because they are outstanding and some of the best holiday releases I've ever seen. Also, there are products in here that are really well thought out and how they work together and separately, and there are some surprises in the collection. So I want to get started by showing you the products, showing you some cards, and then I'll show you techniques in the upcoming videos. Okay, let's first start with the new line from Kristina Werner. She's doing this line with Concord and Ninth. The Concord and Ninth office is very close to Kristina's. So when she decided she wanted to do her own line with her name on it, she decided to work with Greg over at Concord and Ninth. Now, Greg and Kristina are very dear friends of mine, so I kind of saw this developing and I've been excited along the way. And some of Kristina's products, I actually kind of brainstormed with her when we were on our Alaska cruise, so it's so much fun to see how she brought them to life. She is brilliant. This video shares her first release, which is on September 9th, 2024, and she will have new collections coming out every month on the 9th, which is the same day that Concord and Ninth has their release. You can get Kristina's products at Concord and Ninth, Simon Says Stamp, and other stores. So let's get started with Kristina's first product, which is gorgeous. There are some berry dies that are really easy to layer and make outstanding cards. So here are the berry dies that Kristina has, and I really like that she's offering 2 sizes. I love to have big dies to use on my card, but some people prefer smaller dies or smaller price point, so it's great that she offers both. On the left, we have the larger Gentle Berries Stem Die Set, and on the right, we have the smaller Winter Berries Stem Die Set. Both of these sets include the base layer, which is the solid, and then the outline layer that you layer on top. And there is a stencil that kind of has the same design, and you'll see that in a moment. Here's a card that I made with the larger dies, the Gentle Berry Die Set. On this one, I used gold glitter cardstock for the outline, and I used the new Concord and Ninth red foil for the berries and the sentiment. I'll show you that later. And then I used green cardstock for the leaves. I created 2 of the large stems and put one at the top and one in the bottom, and I used an older Simon Says Stamp Big Thanks layered sentiment in the center. And I finished it off with some gold baubles. I really like the classic design of this and that you can use an individual stem on its own, or you can put 2 together on one card to cover the entire background. I am really liking the clean line look of these dies and how easy they are to put together, and I'll demonstrate that in an upcoming video. I also wanted to show you the sizing of this smaller Winterberry Stem die set. I created one in the same way with the same types of cardstock. This is an A2 card panel, 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, so you can see it's the perfect size to go right in the center. The other dies that I plan to use with this, I'll be showing you later in this video. Haven't finished this card up yet, but I will be for the upcoming video. All right, so let's move on to the next one. This is a stencil set that coordinates very nicely with the berry dies I just showed you. And the nice thing about these stencils is they are big. They are big enough to cover a slimline card, a 5x7 card, even 2 A2 panels at once. I really appreciate that because I know many of you like to make larger cards like I do. Now in this stencil set, there are 4 stencils. There is one that is the outline, so you could use that by itself. Then there are 3 you can layer together, which colors the background, the leaves, and the berries. So you can create kind of your own pattern paper. So you can mix and match which of these stencils you use together to get different looks. Now for my card, I use the outline stencil itself on the flap of the envelope, so it will match the card inside. Then for the card itself, I used the 3 kind of layering stencils, and I used gold ink for the background, and it gives gorgeous shine. I did some white little speckles on the background. I did red and green for the berries and leaves and added little details to the berries. It was so much fun to make. This is a beautiful, easy to use layering stencil set that also has the option of a single stencil, which was great for that matching envelope. I will show you the sentiment from this later. It's in the Concord and 9th release. I really wish you could see this card in person. It is absolutely beautiful. That background's beautiful, and it's all thanks to those stencils. Next, we have the Kristina Werner Merry Trees collection. Now, this is outstanding, how you can use these separately or together, and they are sold separately or together. Now, the die set has the word Merry, which I use on my card in a moment. It also has a stamp set where you can stamp the thin line Merry inside of those letters. So you can easily add the word Merry to your card in many different ways. The die set also has a line of trees, a die that has a line of trees, and then the shadow for it. And the nice thing is the shadow also works with the line of trees in the stamp set, so you could cut those out. It also works with the stencil set, which creates a line of trees. So you can mix and match these in so many different ways. The stamp set also has details you can add to your trees, whether they be the stamp stenciled or die cut trees. There's little ornaments, little garland, even a star for the top of the trees. There is in the die set a shadow for the hearts and stars that are in the stamp set. And the die set has that long sentiment strip that will cut out the sentiments on the stamp set. Now, the layering stencil set is great because you can really quickly create all these different colored trees. There are 2 stencils, but it allows you to create 4 layers, I guess, or sets of trees to build together. So I used the stencils on the flap of my envelope, and I used the dies on my card itself. There are many other things you can do with these products. I made an over-the-top card, but you could definitely use these products for clean and simple, and that's what I like about them. They're really well thought out, so you can do clean and simple if you're mass-producing cards and have incredible results. Before I show you my card, I want to show you a couple other sets that I use on the same card. This is the Kristina Werner Merry Greetings Builder Stamp Set, and there's a die set, and you can buy these together or separately. This is unbelievably brilliant how she figured out how to make all these products work together to give you lots of options. So in the stamp set, you have Merry Christmas, and then you have the words Merry and Christmas separately. There's a stripe stamp that you can use to create a border, and lots of sentiments that you can build around the words Merry Christmas. It even says from my house to yours and from our house to yours, so you have both options. I love that Kristina has on the back of her packaging suggestions for different ways you can use these sentiments together. I love this idea of a building set, and I'm hoping she does some for other occasions too. Now, the die set is incredible because you have the word Merry and the shadow for the word Merry. You have the word Christmas and the shadow for the word Christmas. But then you also have a shadow die for the Merry and Christmas together, in case you want to use them together on a card. So you can use the 2 words separately or together. You can even put the Merry next to each other, so you can figure out which way works for whatever your card orientation or style is. The die set also has some star dies and shadows for those stars, which I'll use on one of my cards later. And there are lots of rounded corners sentiment dies to cut out these sentiments. But those rounded corners sentiment dies would also work with other sentiment stamp sets you may have. And it really is nice that there are different sizes included, so you can find what works best with your greeting and your card. I really like this idea of building sentiments, and I'm going to put a bug in Kristina's ear to create more of these for more occasions. So I used both of these collections, the Merry Trees and the Merry Christmas Builder, on one card. I started by using the Merry Trees large Merry die and cut that from white cardstock, and I turned that into a shaker panel. Then I used the Merry Christmas Builder dies for the red Merry Christmas to go around that, and I used the Merry Trees tree dies to add some trees along the bottom of the word Merry. You'll also notice I used an embossing folder on the background. I'll show you that later. It's a Concord and Ninth. And I used the Merry Trees stencils on the envelope flap, and it pulls it all together, creating a really special card. So this card I will be making in my live later today. So I hope you can join me there, or you can always catch the replay. Next in the Kristina Werner release, we have the Peace, Love, Joy Die Set. Now these are really cool because there's a frame die, so you can create like a shadow. Then the word dies themselves create a little thin frame and the word. So there are many ways you can use these pieces together and separately. You don't need to use the outline, you could just use the words themselves. But I like how these have a nice simple block style that you can easily add onto a card anywhere you want. And you'll see that in a card later in this video. I used the Joy die. The last product in Kristina's collection, and one that I use later in this video also, is this GIF Bow Die Set. This is really well thought out. It's very simple, but it's really cool how you can use it. So you have the simple bow and a shadow die for it. Then you have those long strip dies. Those can be used to kind of create the look of wrapping ribbon around a card, and that would make a really simple card design. But you can also use those long strip dies to create thin lines for your cards, like thin borders, little strips. I cut those all the time. It's nice to have a die that will do that for me. And these are long enough to cover a card in either direction. Such a well thought out set. And again, you'll see it in action a little bit later. So there is Kristina's first release. I think it is so well done. Kristina, bravo. I'm very proud of you. All right, now it's time for the Concord and Ninth release, and this is an outstanding release. I think this might be my favorite holiday release ever. There are so many fun products that are very different from each other and very unique, so you got to see them all. So first up, we have the Festive Blooms Die Set and Stamp Set that are sold together or separately. Now this die set is similar to the Primrose die set that I used many times in video, and I will link to a video I mass produced with it up here in the top right and in my description below. Well, now there is a holiday version, and what's really cool about this is the background. Now that center die with all the little pierced details, you could use on a piece of cardstock and as a background on a card. You could also cut the outline of it with that die included and use that piercing as a road map to add all the other die cuts, and you'll end up with a perfect floral arrangement. It takes the guesswork out of it. Now in my live later today, which you can watch on replay, I use this die set to create this card. So it's a fun shaped card that stands up beautifully on its own. I just did quick inking on the die cuts and then assembled them onto the background following that pierced road map that the die provides. So this is a great way to create a wow card, but not have to think too much to put it together, to assemble it. You just follow the road map. And notice there at the center, I used the Joy die from the die set that I showed you earlier from Kristina. This card also has the new Concord and Ninth Champagne foil cardstock. I love it because it's not silver, it's not gold, it's kind of in between, and I'll give you a closer look at that later in this video. Next up, Concord and Ninth has 4 new background dies in this collection. And what I like about their background dies is it doesn't cut the outside edge, so you can use it on the front of a note card or make whatever size you want. My favorite from the bunch is the Ornament Inlay Die. This is beautiful with all the faux stitch details. It actually is designed in a way that the inlay pieces aren't that difficult, and you'll see a card with this in a moment. I absolutely love this, and you could just use the ornament in the center on a different background if you wanted. Next up, we have the tree Lot Inlay Die. Now this cuts a bunch of different trees that you could use on a card, or you could use the whole background. I haven't used this one yet, but I plan to use it and include it in one of those videos that I have coming up. I think it's going to have to be the live video and 2 more after it because I wanted to use everything in these collections. Next, we have the Christmas Lights Inlay Die. I love the faux stitching on this and the delicate little light bulbs. I'll show you a card with this in a moment. And then the Falala Inlay Die. This would be fun for a full shaker card and have little shaker bits in those letters. Or you can make an impression with this and have a fun background. I, again, will be using this in a future video. I wanted to share 2 greeting die sets before I share some more cards. This is the Jolly Holiday Greetings Die Set. You have the sentiments Holly Jolly, Merry and Bright, Deck the Halls, and Happy Holidays. They all have a different style, which I appreciate that the different styles are all included in one set. There are also shadow dies for each of these sentiments. And I just realized, and I apologize, that I show on my desk the Peace on Earth banner die, but this set actually comes with the Deck the Halls banner die, so the image on the left is the correct one. For more sentiment options, there's the Classic Holiday Greeting Die Set. This again has sentiments and the shadow dies. We have Merry Christmas, Oh Holy Night, Peace on Earth, and Joy to the World. I will be using the Oh Holy Night in my live later today, and I use the Merry Christmas on a card example later. Again, I love that different styles are included in one set. And a reminder that I accidentally mixed up the banner dies. This die set comes with the Peace on Earth that you see on the image on the left. So here's a card that I created using the Ornament Inlay Die. You can see I use blue cardstocks in the background, and I have some tips for doing die cut inlay with dies like this that'll be in an upcoming video. Now some of the pieces I inlaid and some I build up for dimension so I could make a really fun background. Then I used the Kristina Bow Die that I showed you earlier at the top of this ornament, and I used the Deck the Halls for the sentiment. I did navy cardstock behind the white die cut, and it makes for a really nice looking sentiment, and it doesn't take much effort. Now before I show you the next set of products, I want to show you a completed card because it's fun how this works and it'll make more sense once you see the card. Now this one, when you open it up, it has this hand that comes down and puts a star on a tree. Now you could use this interactive die set to put like a flower in a vase or a bow on a gift. You could use it for lots of different things, but I stuck with the holiday theme today, and it's very easy to put together. But first, let's look at the front of the card. I have all these hands with the fun sleeves or clothing on, holding different festive things. However, you could use those hands with some of your other products you have, like maybe have one of the hands hold a bouquet of flowers or a single flower or whatever you want. So you could use these year-round also. But that inside interactive feature, I think, is so much fun. So let's look at the die sets and stamp sets I used to create this card. So this is the Concord and 9th Handmade Holiday Die Set and Stamp Set. It's sold together and separately. Now this die set allows you to create lots of different hands and lots of things for those hands to hold. And that's what I used on the front of my card. The stamp set has some sentiments, but also some images that you can use to decorate your die cuts, like the details on the gingerbread man or the sleeves that go on the arms. So this is a great die set that I plan to use all year round, but I had to show you today how you can use it with these festive elements. Also, those little elements like the gingerbread man, the present, the string of lights, they could be used separately on different cards. And this is why I use Concord and 9th products so much, because they are really well thought out and have so much included so you can do lots of different things. Next up is the Tree Topper Die Set and Stamp Set. Now this die set is what you use to make the interactive feature on the inside of the card, that hand that comes down and puts a star on a tree. It is actually very easy to put together thanks to how they created the dies. It has little perforation lines and it even tells you where to put glue on the interactive pieces. Now, I will demonstrate how to create this card and use this set in my video that's coming up soon. I wanted to show all this to you today because I am guessing this will sell it very quickly, and it is just so much fun to use. You can see this video is long enough just showing you the products and cards. I knew stuffing in all of the techniques would really make it overboard. So we'll spread it out to a few different videos so we can get more inspiration. By the way, this die set also includes some pine pieces, some ornaments that you can layer together, so you could even use it for a non-interactive card that has a completely different look. Concord and 9th is really good about stuffing the die sets full of all of these dies so you get more bang for your buck. So let's look at another card. I'm sharing this one now because I actually use that hand as a non-interactive die cut on the inside of this card. It's just holding a gift card. So you can use it for non-interactive also. On the front of this card, I use the Christmas Lights Inlay Background die, and I have a really fun technique for faux inlay that is super fast to do, and I'll share that on the upcoming video, and that's what I did on the background here. The Merry and Bright is also from the Sentiment die set I showed you earlier on. But remember that hand on the inside holding the gift card, that's from the Tree Topper Interactive Die Set. All right, now with this release, Concord and Ninth now has embossing folders. They're 2D embossing folders that give great results and you can use with any die cut machine you have. First up, we have the Holiday Sprigs embossing folder, and then there are layering stencils that coordinate with it. So I'll just demonstrate what this embossing folder looks like, just used with regular cardstock. I love the dimension of this. But what you can do is then line up your stencils on top of that textured background and add inking to create a gorgeous backdrop on a card. For my card, I used an embossing folder on the flap of the envelope and on the background. And then I did inking with the stencils on top of the background. And I have a fun inking technique that I'll share in an upcoming video. Then I used the Merry Christmas from one of the die sets I showed you earlier. And then the stars. Look at those stars. That's from Kristina Werner's die set earlier that I showed you that has star dies and shadows for those star dies. So I cut the stars from white cardstock and I did a vellum shadow around it. And that allows them to stand out more against that busy background. I love that the shadows were included with those. So this pulls together several different products on one card. Now there are a few more products that I didn't get a chance to use yet, but I definitely will. I love this. This is the Concord and Ninth Nutcracker Die Set, and it creates some really fun Nutcracker images, and it has these 2 oval dies that I think you could use with lots of cards. I love ovals on cards like this. Then there are the enamel pieces. These are self-adhesive. These are really cool. They are little boots and mustaches and holly, little accents you can put on your nutcrackers that will give it dimension and shine. And they're the perfect fit. And they're in Concord and Ninth colors, so you know it'll match your inks in your cardstocks. I should also note that this die set also comes with a script Merry sentiment and a Joy sentiment die. Now, I didn't have them on the screen there because I was using them for something else, but they are included in this die set. So I will be playing with this one later today. I'm so excited to use it. These are some images Concord and Ninth said I could share. You can see how these nutcrackers can be assembled in many different ways, and I just love them all. In the past, Concord and Ninth had a smaller nutcracker. It was a super tiny nutcracker, and I made lots of cards in a video showing you ways to use them, and I'm now excited to have the bigger size nutcrackers. I also wanted to mention that those oval dies were the ones that I briefly showed you earlier that work really well with that smaller Kristina Werner Winterberry die set. I just really like that it's you can have an oval element on your card instead of using rectangle, which we often do. I think that layering ovals are really nice, and it's great that they're included because you could use those year round. All right, next up, there is a Turnabout Stamp Set in this collection. This is the Joyful Season Turnabout. If you've never used a Turnabout before, I will link to a video up here on the top right so you can see how they work. The nice thing about these Turnabout stamps is you can stamp them once, rotate, stamp again, rotate, stamp again, rotate, stamp again, and you can get a colorful background very easily. There are also fun sentiments in here. Then there is a coordinating die set that's available separately or together, and that is where I got the Happy Holidays banner that I created out of red foil that I used on one of my cards earlier in this video. In one of my upcoming videos, I'll show you how easy it is to use a Turnabout stamp in an all-to-new stamp wheel. And here we have a second embossing folder. This is the one that I used on my Merry card that I showed you earlier in this video. You could even add little red gemstones to the berries for a simple background. And then last but not least, we have red foil cardstock and champagne foil cardstock. Now these are beautiful. They're not like mirror shine. It's just the right amount of shine. And the champagne is gorgeous. So here I have a silver cardstock and a gold cardstock so you can see what the champagne is like. It is like this soft, subtle gold that I just love. I use these on many of my cards today. So there you have it, a close look at the September release from Kristina Werner. It's her first release, and for Concord and Ninth. I think you can see that these were all really well thought out and just really fun to work with. Now, I will be going live today at 1 p.m. Eastern, where I will share the creation of a couple of today's cards. And remember, you can always watch the replay. Then stay tuned for a couple extra videos that'll be coming up, sharing the creation and techniques behind the other cards that you see in today's video. I have linked in my YouTube description below to all the products that I show today. I'm really hoping this video is helpful to you, and I thank you so much for watching.